Shut the fuck up, I'm ready. That gets me every time. What up, y'all? It's your boy, the one and only A Switch, aka the hot dog hero, aka don't warm my Pop Tart up. I like it cold. aka aka the truffle butter champion. Oh my god. All right. You know what? Actually, I like that. It kind of lightens up. You know, I don't even know what you call it really, but nonetheless, bringing you yet another episode of Switches Sights. Why do I sound echoey? Is that better? I think so, a little bit. Switches Sights, my solo gaming podcast where we talk about pretty much everything gamer related and whatnot, news and current events and all that good stuff. So, today's date is September 26th, 2019. I think I said before this is episode 24. So, I mean, there isn't really any number for episode 24. I don't know why I try to make that significant. But you know what? Hey, we'll say it is. Fair amount of interesting news, at least that I thought or caught my attention, that I think I'd like to discuss and get to the bottom of. Let me move my boulder up so you can see me. I'm slouched though. Let me adjust the cam a little bit. That's better. I like that. Yeah. So, probably the biggest news that came out this week was, I guess, first and foremost, the state of play, which I know we talked about last episode. That, you know, everybody's like, oh, like clearly it's gonna be Last of Us focused, which arguably for the most part it was. Trying to think of something else. Yeah, for the most part it was mainly Last of Us focused, even though they also they also you know, announced other titles and stuff like that. Some things that stood out. It was this one dope game from the event, and I can't remember it. Was it? Keep thinking Gungrave, but that was at Tokyo Game Show. It was some game that looked pretty dope. Actually, no, I think it was LA Noir VR. I think that was it. Yeah, so that seemed pretty cool. LA Noir VR. I'm not sure. I hope that's the title. That just rolls off the tongue pretty good. That if that's not the title, that should be the title. Should be the title. The title. Like a little kid. Little kid asking for a game that he not supposed to play at GameStop. Sir, can I play the title? I would like to play this title. No, I'm sorry, you cannot play this. You need to get out the store actually, because I don't want to get in trouble. Yeah, so Yeah, I think that was the standout game. There were a couple other games that I guess didn't really speak to me, but I can definitely understand it. It was this one game where it was just like a lot of people. It seemed like some very weird extroverted form of Sim City to an extent, where you're like controlling populations of people and then you're like making them funnel and all this weird stuff. Like, okay, I'm try. I can't really wrap my head around it, but yeah, I appreciated the creativity of it. So, you know, it was cool. It was all cool, you know. What else? Yeah, that was pretty much it. Maybe forgetting some, but that's all that really caught my attention. Wasn't really much else that really got to me. I know they did seem to focus a lot on VR still, which is good. I mean, not saying that like VR is unsuccessful in terms of PlayStation or whatever, but for what it was pretty successful. I mean, pretty interesting that they're still, pushing it. I guess that's the biggest, maybe bigger question. I mean, I think VR has found its market, or has found its like niche market, if you will, but doesn't necessarily feel like it's like major or super substantial or essential to have, like for a typical hardcore gamer, what have you. I don't know the unofficial term of it or whatever. I don't even know what you want to even say it. I don't know. But yeah. So, but obviously the biggest takeaway from this state of play was The Last of Us Part 2. We finally got a new trailer that showed us a hell of a lot more information in terms of all the juicy deets of kind of what to expect with the game. So try to recall from looking at the trailer. I guess I'm just gonna come out to what like really caught my attention. You definitely still got the sense of like violence and brutality, which I did like. Our human sides, our primal sides, have been not desired, been satiated. That's probably a better word. But yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Dogs, that whole aspect was cool, and you also get the vibe that like everybody's way more intelligent and more like focused now, so they're not as I don't know. I mean, even in the first Last of Us, they weren't dumb or stupid necessarily, but as long as you understood the patterns, it was kind of reminding me of Splinter Cell and other stealth games of that ilk, where there's more so recognize their pattern, get their pattern down, then take advantage of the pattern when they go back and repeat it, and then you take advantage of it or whatever. So in that aspect, it was refreshing to kind of see that different take on it. And apparently this may be kind of somewhat maybe influenced by I was watching some of the videos of some of the media I guess apparently got to play the game. I'm assuming in like some private event for press and whatnot, press and media, where I guess they apparently played 3 hours of the game to like get a full gist of everything. And I believe what they said in a couple, like I was watching Easy Allies and I think Naughty Dog's own trailer about it, that it was like some interesting stuff, which I guess I kind of said, but they all also put in the trailer too, of the dogs and like the intelligence of communicating with your teammates that are nearby, and you get more of a sense that everybody's kind of a pack mentality, a pack or brotherhood, or kind of knit family, if you will. I also heard a detail that apparently like everybody in the game has a unique name, like enemy wise. I thought that was pretty cool. Where like, I guess I think there are some examples like, oh damn it, they shot Dale, damn it, oh, they're gonna pay, which they kind of did in the first one. I recall, like, I don't think they necessarily acknowledged their name, but they did, acknowledge like, oh man, they got them all, and then you kind of felt the remorse and kind of a sadness and guilt and all that of the person that found the dead body or whatever, which was cool too. So all that, I mean, did come to some extent from the first game. So I mean, that was totally fine. At least story wise, it was a lot to digest. They did show like a new enemy type. I forgot his name specifically, but from what it looks like, it was like a Left 4 Dead smoker, I believe, where it exudes this gas or whatever, which I'm assuming you probably want to stay away from in general. I guess that's essentially the rule for a lot of the enemies, just to stay away from them. Well, what was the one? The bloater, and mainly the bloater and the clicker. Well, unless you got the skill to kill them with a shiv and all that good stuff. But I mean, of all that was pretty cool. I think I saw horses in the trailer, so it's pretty apparent that you're probably gonna do that may be a fair part of the game where you'll use your horse and maybe potentially upgrade it. I think somebody rumored saying that might be an option or something like that. Actually, no, I think that was like a troll post, but I could see that being a possibility. Also, considering the game, that was one other detail they released, that is going to be 2 damn discs. That is crazy. They said this is going to be the biggest game they ever made. So considering The Last of Us, the original Last of Us, was give or take 20-25 hours to complete, it felt like, at least from what I remembered. I played it on normal. I guess I technically played it 3 times. I played the original PS3 release, and then played it again on normal on the remastered for PS4, and then I want to say next to hardest, the mode that's next to the hardest mode. I forgot what they call it, but played it that way as well. I'm actually encouraged to probably potentially play the hardest mode, maybe stream it. We'll see. For that. So I definitely got a good gist of the story and kind of like the whole vibe and intention of the story and all that good stuff. Also checked out recently it was in a thread on Reset Era. Somebody mentioned the video of a press conference that the director writer of The Last of Us, Neil Druckmann, he did like a keynote about pretty much the design aspect and the whole process of kind of like making The Last of Us 2 from a game creator standpoint, and some of the kind of things that are maybe scrapped out or ideas that eventually formulated to this game being what it is or what it is now, and also clearing up the ending, even though he technically kind of made it subjective in terms of how you interpret it. He still did kind of squash everybody's, I guess, misconceptions with the ending, where basically, I'm not gonna try to super spoil it, but I guess minor spoilers here and there. Spoilers for the original Last of Us if you haven't played it for the last 6 years. Was it even 7? I think it was 7. I think it came out in 2012, maybe 2013. I forgot. Either way, you had a lot of time to play it by now. So towards the end, where I'll still try to be cryptic as much as I can, but when Joel does something to one of the characters in the game, and then he's confronted by Ellie about it, and then she responds with okay, when basically essentially Joel lied to her about it, that he was that I guess her interpretation of okay, where it was like a fairly reasonable pause before she said that like I think a lot of people interpreted that she thought it was okay. She like knew he was lying, but she accepted it in terms of his intentions were in the right place in some sense. But actually Neil Druckmann confirmed that is the total opposite, that in her head, that she totally wrote in her mind that she can't really be with him anymore, throughout the journey, or, I guess presumably into The Last of Us Part 2, because of what he did, and, stripping her of that choice to make that decision if she choose to or wanted to or whatever. So kind of with all that, I found that pretty interesting, fascinating. This was like in 2014, mind you. So it was roughly, it seemed to be kind of fresh off of, the release and reception of the game. So maybe it was 2013. It had to be 2013 then in that case. I think June 2013-ish, I recall. So yeah, I mean, with that, I just found that interesting. And then I guess how that comes into play now in terms of part 2 is probably the best moment of the trailer in my opinion. Towards the end, pretty much, Joel comes in, he's like, hey, you need help, kiddo. I'm paraphrasing, but looks like you can't do this alone, kiddo. You're gonna need some help, whatever. Or did he say baby girl? Like, you're gonna need some help, baby girl. That's exactly how he said it. Baby girl, it look like you gonna need some help. I got your back though. I got your back though. Don't worry. Joel's here. Joel's gonna take care of it. I'm gonna kill anybody I have to protect my girl. So I was like, oh yeah. But at the same time, it doesn't really rule out a lot of the speculation that Joel might be dead in this one, or we find out maybe in the story that he's gonna die. I mean, that's a given, I guess, for any game really, that who's gonna die. I guess it's pretty apparent that somebody's gonna die, and that they said the theme for the first Last of Us was love, and then in this one it's gonna be about hate. So obviously, I mean, the most obvious kind of catalyst for hate is, in a lot of times, death. So I mean, I know, as we've seen in the previous trailers, like the E3 one of last year, that Ellie has love interest, presumably, at least from what the trailers kind of suggest. So in the trailer, the recent trailer now, they show she gets taken away or captured, and then she's on her, I guess part of her journey is to save her as well. But we don't know what happened, so it seems to be somewhat hinted at that maybe that's a possibility, that she could be killed, and then maybe that starts the whole trail of hatred. I'm gonna kill everybody, and they all gonna pay, like John Wick, but instead of a dog, it's her love. I don't know. So I mean, it's a lot of that seems to be coming into play with the story. And then this seems to be this whole new faction, the Fire. Well, they've been existing from the first one, but they seem to, I guess, presumably change now. They're more advanced in some ways and shapes and forms. And then I do like that they give you the vibe that it's still that mixture of enemies, in terms of like human enemies, as well as the infected and you know how they have shown how they've been more decayed as the time has passed now too, in terms of being realistic in terms of being infected for this long, and now in this time frame that they have kind of shown that age and how the infection will decay your body even more, considering the time between the first one and this one coming out. I guess on top of that, the time is gonna jump presumably because they hinted at that in the first one too, where you kind of show the origins of Ellie's mom, as well as going into present day with Ellie. So, man, how they're making it seem to be, especially considering the length, 2 discs. That is crazy. 2 damn discs of content. That is ridiculous. That's a lot of content. 2 discs, 2 Blu-ray discs, mind you. I know, typical DVD format. I know 10 GB format is 50 GB. Or when you mix the two, 100 GB. That's a lot of data, a lot of content. So with that, they also talked about, I guess, in a recent article with US Gamer, that Last of Us 2 won't have multiplayer. So I guess they said in an interview with Kathy McCarthy, with the designer, lead game designer Amelia Schatz, that pretty much I'm gonna try to somewhat, well, I guess we'll quote it directly. We're focusing on a single player experience. So we're just making a single player game for this, Schatz said during the event. When asked about what sort of form the previously confirmed multiplayer mode would take, reply was correct. It is a single player game. Sony representative subsequently clarified over email as well. So pretty much that kind of, at least at the time, confirmed that, okay, no multiplayer in Last of Us 2. At least at that time, I was like, okay, maybe they're just gonna release some DLC later, down the line, and then give people a chance to soak up the single player for what it is, which I think I always appreciate with releases like Grand Theft Auto 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2. You had a pretty substantial amount of time to just absorb the single player, get it out your system, and then when the multiplayer drops, you'll be ready for it, and then you're not feeling this kind of weird anxiety multiplayer's out too, but I want to be behind and get my rank get obliterated by people that are higher ranked than me already, and stuff like that. So kind of the FOMO of that kind of turmoil between single player and multiplayer, which I always seem to have with Call of Duty. Call of Duty, I'm a little bit tame about it, but in general, for games that do have both single player and multiplayer that I enjoy, it is always a battle where it's that FOMO. That FOMO is real, where you want to do both, but you can only have time for whatever. But I mean, essentially, my rule of thumb is always play the single player first. I think it's a really good extensive tutorial as well as to what to expect in the multiplayer also. So you kind of get a feel for all the guns, like Call of Duty, for example. So like when Modern Warfare comes out, I'll always, it's kind of like a tradition, really play the single player first, kind of get a feel for the game and kind of the mechanics in the game, which more than likely almost always transfer to multiplayer, in terms of, obviously they would save a lot of aspects and assets by copying and pasting what they did in the single player for the most part, obviously with some, scripted events and stuff. But, you get a sense of the feel of the weapons in the case of Modern Warfare, and get a whole general gist of how the gameplay flows to an extent. I mean, obviously there's going to be apparent differences and stuff like that, but in general, I always like that. I always feel more fulfilled. I mean, I see multiplayer as like my reward for beating a single player, personally at least. So, but yeah. So I mean, I'm totally fine with this. At least initially, what they said about it, I'm like, yeah, I more than likely is going to come later at some extent. That is at least what my speculation was. But then, like later on, we did find that they are still hiring for multiplayer gameplay programmers and multiplayer related staff, specifically for The Last of Us Part 2. So that pretty much still holds some kind of hope that there was going to be multiplayer. And then finally, at least toward the end of the day, Naughty Dog responded to all the, I guess somewhat backlash. Sure, backlash. I think a fair amount of people were unpleased by it. So what they said specifically on Twitter in terms of their statement, we wanted to address multiplayer in The Last of Us Part 2. As we've stated, the single player campaign is far and away the most ambitious project Naughty Dog has ever undertaken. Likewise, as development began on the evolution of our factions mode from The Last of Us Part 1, the vision of the team grew beyond an additional mode that could be included with our enormous single player campaign. Wanting to support both visions, we made the difficult choice that The Last of Us Part 2 would not include an online mode. However, you will eventually experience the fruits of our team's online ambition, but not as part of The Last of Us Part 2. When and where it will be realized is still to be determined, but rest assured we are as big a fan of factions as the rest of our community and are excited to share more when it's ready. Naughty Dog. AKA, guys, we've heard you. Oh, man. It cracks me up how that applies so much to like the gaming industry in general, man. It gets me every time. Guys, we've heard you. Rest assured, you'll get the multiplayer that you've known and have been accustomed to. Don't fret. So yeah. So that's relieving. I'm totally fine with multiplayer coming out later at some point, whether it's like going to be an add-on component to The Last of Us Part 2 that's free, which ideally would be the best scenario, or it's just going to be an add-on that you maybe have to pay more for, or just a totally separate game that you'd have to purchase separately. Hoping ideally it's just an add-on to The Last of Us Part 2. That will make the most sense, since in more than likely some way it's going to still try to incorporate itself in the story as the first one did. So I don't really see them trying to separate it too much in that way. Yeah, so I honestly think that, yeah, like maybe 6 months post-release, maybe more, we'll eventually see some what it comes to be, and then be able to play it and have it in our hands. But ideally would love to just have it free DLC, when it's ready, which I'm totally fine with. Because personally, I thoroughly love that multiplayer mode. It was so unique and like cool. Just the progression, with the, managing communities and the Facebook integration and stuff. I thought that was kind of cool. Like people you never talk to, like, oh man, I'm sorry, man. You got dysentery. Damn. Well, look like you did. Oh man. What's ironic too is that you felt more bad for the person in the game than the dude on Facebook. Oh man, I found that super funny. That was so damn funny to me. It's like, oh damn, oh you died from lack of food, and but I could care less about you on Facebook. I barely know who you are. Oh man, that was funny. That was funny in general. Just thinking about that. Oh man, but in general, in terms of just general gameplay, being able to pick up and scavenge supplies and craft, and then it kind of felt like an interesting blend of Uncharted and Counter-Strike in a weird way. Uncharted, Counter-Strike, and yeah, actually I can't think of anything else. I guess maybe slightly Gears of War with, you know, the executions and stuff, which is just always fulfilling to me. Loving gruesomely decimating your opponent after you beaten them. There's nothing more fulfilling than that. Tell me I'm wrong. So yeah. But all in all, totally fine with you know, multiplayer coming at a later point. Give us all time to soak in and kind of you know, I guess engulf ourselves in the single player campaign, and then be ready and you know, kind of keep that retention with The Last of Us after with releasing the multiplayer component, which I think actually is better. Yeah, not you know, I think I said it earlier, but this is definitely the better option. Just staggering the releases, getting people to play the multiplayer that maybe the single player that wouldn't otherwise play it if the game came packed in with it. I think it's a great decision. I think it you know, just helps people to play and you know, absorb and not feel this, you know, like I was saying earlier, FOMO to try to play the multiplayer first over the single player, and you know, kind of lose out on, you know, a lot of The Last of Us. I doubt Last of Us has all those people that like just directly avoid the single player and play the multiplayer. I don't really see people for this type of game doing that. More so Call of Duty, maybe Gears to an extent. But I don't know. Last of Us is such a strong story piece. I don't see people doing that. But either way, they made that decision for us. So totally fine with this. I'm happy they're at least continuing the multiplayer and that we will see the evolution of what it becomes at some point. So thank you, Naughty Dog. You made me so happy today or this week, really. Also, man, them damn collector's editions. Whew. Looking nice. Looking nice. That Ellie's edition. Looking great. Looking great. But yeah, I'm very excited, very anxiously. I'm gonna go with it. Anxiously waiting. It's like anxious and what's the other one? Anxious and anticipating. Anxiously waiting for Last of Us 2. And oh, I forgot, I didn't mention the release date. February 21st, 2020. Very weird. Why would they just, well, I guess it's probably on a Monday or a very inopportune release date. Actually, let's look it up right now. What does February 2020 fall on? What does it fall on? Thursday. Some games are released on Thursday. Technically, it does release on Thursday. Doing it well for us in the West Coast. But either way, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, 2020. I mean, that only comes every, you know, every like what, BC or every BC or something. I guess there's the year after that, 21. No, because no, two. What am I saying? 2020. 2020. I guess 2/21/21 though. If you want to get the kind of vibe going. Why am I even talking about that? Actually, it's important, you know. This is a monumental event when a game comes out. A special day for the release and celebration of the release of this game coming out. It's a beautiful thing. In line with that, I guess staying in with state of play news. There was an article released this week by Jason Schreier of Kotaku, talking about the box art of Final Fantasy VII. Or yeah, so in basically Square Enix released the box art or final box art maybe for the standard edition. I'm assuming it's going to be maybe slightly different for the collector's editions or what have you. That basically in his article, I'm super paraphrasing, that basically he feels that given that pretty much it's pretty, what's the word, kind of ambiguous in terms of how this game is gonna release in terms of parts, because they did confirm, at least this was back in like 2015, I want to say, that it is actually gonna be in parts and not gonna be the full game that you knew and loved from 20 years ago now. So basically the argument that Jason is making in terms of this article is that he feels that it should be a part series, so it should be Final Fantasy Remake Part 1 Episode 1 or something like that. I'd have to disagree with the article though. It did spark a interesting conversation in terms of content like this and what have you, but I don't know. I feel like it would kind of be, at least I'm gonna try to put my marketing hat on, not having any experience being in marketing, mind you, but at least from a marketing standpoint, if I have Final Fantasy Remake Part 1 as the official title, I feel like it would instantly encourage people to basically wait. I mean, well, obviously there's going to be people that are going to, including myself, that would play it, is going to play it day one. But for people that maybe are in the middle between in terms of Final Fantasy, in terms of like their, I guess, attachment to it, I feel like they would be like, well, I could wait until all the episodes come out and then I'll play the full game, or wait till the full edition comes out or whatever, which is valid. But I mean, obviously, I think that would, detract from the sales, at least from a sales standpoint, but I guess from a blatantly honest standpoint, for those that aren't familiar with the game, previously in the PS1 days, yeah, I get that, but I don't know. And it might be something, it'll probably be acknowledged, at least like on the packaging. So like probably in the back, maybe in like super small wording, this game is actually a part of a series that's going to come, in whatever dates. And on top of that, I don't think that Square Enix has even figured that out fully, what they're going to do with the series as a whole. Obviously, I would hope maybe they're just lying to us to string us along, and that this actually is the full game in full. That's probably wishful thinking at the most. But otherwise, they, from the trailer they recently released, at least we talked about last episode, they're definitely overhauling, adding a lot of stuff, making this a legit remake. And just going, and in terms of the content, they said it's going to be a full-blown game. So I mean, considering that, I mean, I don't know. And then on top of that, I guess the argument I made is that I guess they did say or confirm it's gonna be a part of the whole series. But a part of me feels like maybe it would, the later parts would be like somewhat DLC or components you add to the main game to some extent. So I mean, I don't know, if you put it that way, technically the standard title we have now should still remain. That, it would just add, this section 1 or 2 or something like that to the main game or something. I don't know. But overall, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. You don't call Gears of War 1 Gears 1. Well, I guess in terms of retroactively, but like when it came out, you didn't call it Gears 1 because obviously I guess you didn't expect, that it would have a sequel, depending on how successful it did or not. So for this one, I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't be a good choice to just blatantly say this is episode 1. The other ones are gonna come later. I can see for the people that are unaware that would be misleading, but that's a very low margin of people that have never played Final Fantasy 4. So I mean Final Fantasy 7 before, and if you aren't, and this is your first time playing Final Fantasy 7, yeah, it's still like a very low margin in my opinion. Well, I would assume that obviously if you're into this game, you've had a immaculate experience beforehand with it in the PS1 or maybe the recent releases or ports on the current consoles. But I don't see, I don't know, some person like, oh man, I never played Final Fantasy 7 before, but this one's pretty cool. I guess maybe you have some people that don't like the graphics or were totally off put by the graphics of Final Fantasy 7 when it came out, and then come now with the graphics and everything that they're really into and want to try it out. So from that aspect, I can see that. That's I guess that's a valid angle that they would have there. But overall, I feel like just saying Final Fantasy Remake 1 or Part 1 or something like that, I don't know. I feel like would not be do it justice. And then on top of that, I don't know. Maybe they're like Square Enix has some maybe contingency plan or something like, what if this totally fails, and which I highly doubt. Or, there's just maybe they're taking this as an opportunity to kind of maybe see how people perceive the game after it comes out, how it's being, received by folks, maybe drop in on Twitch streams here and there, people playing the game and all that stuff. And then maybe actively see based off that what people did like, and maybe try to switch it up from there or something like that. I don't know. But either way, they don't really have it, I guess, planned or set in stone anyway of how they're gonna approach it. But man, it would be a dream that they actually had the whole game complete, and it was just a, at least at the time, maybe as a fail safe, something they had to do. But now they realize that they fully got the whole game realized, and before it comes out, it comes out. So I don't know. But nonetheless, thought it was a pretty interesting article to kind of discuss and bring attention to. But at the same time, no, Jason Schrader, he has a totally valid point in terms of the article that for the unaware, they obviously would be like, what the, well, and there's that other aspect too, that like if they did try this game, that they would be fine with it, where it would stop, because they never played the first one, because obviously those would be the people that would technically be misled, or I guess the hardcore fans that don't really follow the game and news like that too. So either way, yeah, it's still a valid point. But I think it's still a full-blown game. And then for the next one they plan to come out, that could be, obviously episode 2 or Final Fantasy Remake, Explorer, Past Midgar or something like that, whatever title they're going to name it or something. But I guess that's the thing too. We don't know for sure how they are actually approaching it. They basically, had some semi-confirmation that it is going to be a part structure. But, I don't think they necessarily confirm that it's going to be a legit separate game, or, it's going to be additional DLC to the main game, which would maybe add credence to why they would keep this the same title, which I guess that's outside of it being actually the whole game when it releases in February. I guess maybe a pretty good runner up would be the fact that it would basically, you know, be a DLC type deal where, you know, episode 2 is available right now or something like that. I don't know, like at like, you know, what the PlayStation 5 reveal or something like that. I don't know. I think that feels like the most likely option where, you know, you paid full for the game, but you're gonna get the content. You know, you got the first part where, you know, satiated, you obviously know how the story ends or whatever, but, you know, see what they did different. That's kind of the twist now. And then, you know, when each one comes out, you'll kind of still be engaged, have some time to kind of reflect, absorb the gameplay story of each part. And then, you know, when the full one comes out, probably going to be like a Final Fantasy 7 Ultimate Edition or something like that. Or but then again, they won't let you have to pay for it. It just probably be on like what, 6 disc or whatever, depending on how they're splitting it up and the length of the later content or whatever. So yeah, it's a mixed bag of stuff. Just a mixed bag of stuff, really. You know. But all in all, hey, either way, we're getting Final Fantasy Remake. So I think that's the more important and thing we need to be focused on, and I'm totally thankful for anyway, regardless of this. So I mean, for what that's worth, it's great. And man, this box art is just so good. So good. Just like an HD version of the PS1 cover. It's great. What more could you ask for Final Fantasy 7 Remake? No, I'm getting adamant about that. I'm just sorry. This is happening. It's happening. What we've wanted for so long is becoming a reality. That's just great. That's just fantastic. In line with or staying in line with the state of play news. During that event, one thing I did forget was Modern Warfare. They revealed the trailer, a story trailer, which looked pretty dope. You know, typical Modern Warfare, but you know, some interesting twists. I guess the biggest thing that stood out to me towards the end was like, I think Captain Price shot a dude on his team because he hesitated, or I think he was supposed to be on our team, or he was from their country but helping us or whatever. I don't know the angle there, but dude shot the dude. He looked like he was on his team, but he hesitated, and then Captain Price shot him. Like, oh, okay. We're getting into Modern Warfare now in 2019, how it plays or whatever. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Just shot the dude. Hey. It's either you or me. It's either them or me. All right, I'm gonna take you out. You don't do your job, I'm gonna take you out. That's apparently what happened. But yeah, alongside that with the trailer, they revealed that there's a game option that's PS4 exclusive until October 2020, aka when the next Modern Warfare generally comes out. So pretty much after the wave of the latest Call of Duty is done and people move on to the next one. Kind of dare I say choice by Activision or PlayStation, or you know, maybe the combination of the two. Since we heard back last week that they did confirm that all the multiplayer maps are gonna release normally across all platforms, you know, to obviously support the crossplay initiative and not have any, you know, disparity between the platforms or whatever. So I guess the unfortunate consequence of that, since you know the maps used to be exclusive for PlayStation for a certain amount of time, generally like a month, I think was generally the standard, at least from the previous Call of Duties. But now there's a trade-off that the multiplayer mode Spec Ops, which is generally Modern Warfare's, I guess, answer to Activision Zombies mode, where basically it's kind of like, well, actually more so a ripoff of Gears 5 Horde mode. This mode specifically, the general Spec Ops mode, at least, being our base of reference from Modern Warfare 2, is that it is, a set amount of missions where you do, I guess, pre-scripted missions where you have a particular objective where there's two players and you generally cooperate to complete the mission for whatever, the purpose of that is. So that's at least the general gist of at least what we knew from Spec Ops with the Modern Warfare series. But now with this new mode they call survival mode, it's basically Horde, where you get waves of enemies until you complete all of them. So this mode in particular of Spec Ops is going to be exclusive to PS4 until October 1st, 2020. Not the biggest deal, but still kind of shitty in terms of the exclusivity time, because that is very ridiculous. Because it kind of reminds me of Destiny's messed up exclusivity with PlayStation, where it was these exclusive weapons that you would get that would be reasonable at the release, but then towards the end of Destiny 1's life cycle, and then presumably obviously where the other platforms get it, or at least in this case Xbox, it's like, well, this gun is not even legit anymore. I don't even want this trash. It is dumb. I don't even want to play this. So that's kind of messed up. As all kinds of messed up, actually. So and with that being in play, it's kind of just overall messed up, really. Overall, it's still messed up, and especially considering the crossplay initiative now with Call of Duty. This obviously would be a great opportunity for that, but again, this dumb exclusivity deal with PlayStation in this case. Ironically, hypocritically, I'm totally fine with it when it was my platform of choice for Call of Duty with Xbox, but at the same time, it was still reasonable though. It was like only 30 days of exclusivity of a map pack, and that was it. And then after that, it releases to everybody, it was okay. It was tolerable. 1 month, I'm playing other games. It's not probably even a big deal to me. I can wait. I'm not dying to play if it's one of my more favorite games maybe, but in general it wasn't that big a deal. 4 weeks, okay, fine. I know they previously had it where there was going to be map exclusivity, but like for 1 day or something like that, or I think up to 1 week. But I guess they it seemed like a last minute change where they now switched it to this survival mode being exclusive, which is unfortunate. But it's not the worst thing in the world, but still it's pretty messed up, because I would have liked to play this mode and with friends across platform, but I'd have to go PlayStation. But at the same time, it's like I could see myself considering the cross-platform initiative of this. I do see myself playing or getting it for multiple platforms just for that convenience. So maybe at least from playing the beta now, at least my platform of choice feels like it's still going to be Xbox One X. I messed with PC. PC was pretty cool, but I didn't really see a huge difference in terms of just performance compared to Xbox One X, even at my PC being at the pretty much max settings. Maybe there's a possible bottleneck. My PC isn't the most recent of up to date. 1080 Ti i7 600K or 6700K, One of those. But I know it's not up to date anyway. But either way, yeah, messed up. I really hope this exclusivity is done soon, especially the next generation where, this is less of a pain. Especially, third party stuff where it's just, why? I mean, I get it, but at the same time, why? Why so long? Like, let's say if this was the same exclusivity as the map packs, like, as tradition was previously, this would be okay. This would be like a minor hiccup. Like, I could wait 30 days to play this mode on another platform, but until October 1st, 2020, majority of the, Call of Duty wave, which, I'd include myself in that, where, I'm generally, move on from the previous Call of Duty to play the, next one that's out. If it's good, if it's not, then I'll, maybe stick with the latest one. But then obviously there's so many other games I play in general, but yeah, that's messed up though. Hopefully, that changes maybe. I don't know, man. That's messed up in general. Next in news. Microsoft had their event as well. I think it was weirdly the same day as State of Play, where they Inside Xbox. No, I think Inside Xbox is their regular weekly show though. But they did have some substantial news. At least in particular, was an update on Project Xcloud, which is the game streaming service that lets you stream Xbox games to generally. I think the focus is, at least in terms of this beta, for phones specifically. I'm not sure if it was anything else really. Yeah, looking at this article on Kotaku. Microsoft's taking on game streaming will be hands-on of a select few players of the public. Next month, Project Xcloud will let you play Xbox One games via the cloud without the need for a console. As today, though, will begin a public trial in October. There will be a few titles: Halo 5, Gears 5, Sea of Thieves, Killer Instinct, through an Android phone or tablet within Xbox One wireless controller connected via Bluetooth. Meant to work over Wi-Fi or data connection, but the proof of the whole experience will be how well it works as you play on a go. So, and what's interesting, they recommend 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, or no, yeah, we do. Yeah, 5G is somewhat, no, it's 4G. Not many, not even the latest iPhone doesn't have 5G. So obviously they're going towards Android. Yeah, 5G Wi-Fi or mobile data connection, and then 10 megabits down, which is reasonable. At least the 10 megabits down. 5 gigahertz, that's not really on many devices. At least specifically, they're allowing a lot of Android devices. But says it plans. Microsoft say they plan to support more devices, more games. Obviously, like iOS is out of this whole equation. I guess down the road, but it'll be free, a public trial. Yeah, interesting. And you can sign up now, so I think I will sign up. I'm just curious to see how it is. I know, kind of in the wake of Google Stadia and stuff. Obviously or eventually this is gonna be the norm in some extent when they finally, I guess, figure it out fully. But yeah, definitely, obviously not my way to play. I never see myself really doing this unless maybe I'm in a bind or I'm traveling somewhere. But outside of that, don't really see myself utilizing this. Normally when I'm out or on the go, don't really like bringing my consoles with me, unless I'm going somewhere like substantially long, like if I'm going on a trip somewhere, going to another city or state or whatever, then I would bring it if it's going to be a commute and I have some time. But outside of that, I don't generally travel or like even play games on my phone, like iOS games and stuff like that. I guess for those that don't know, I am And a reluctant, reluctant iPhone user with the current one, iPhone 11 Pro Max. So, yeah, that's cool though. It's cool. Don't get me wrong. I guess I just hate what this leads to. Uh, us not having consoles to play or have, or physically, embellish ourselves in, if you will. I don't know. Just having something physical to, be more reliable than something that could potentially go down. And then, like, if your internet goes down, you're screwed and all that. So, either way, interesting news. So, some interesting stuff. I guess it's somewhat, I guess, still semi rumor, but House of the Dead, the House of the Dead. Actually, no, I think it's better with the deep voice. The House of the Dead. Actually, that's pretty good. That sounds like a remake version, right? That sounds like a remake version. The House of the Dead. That is fantastic. Got to do it one more time. The House of the Dead. Oh my God, that is the best. So yeah, the House of the Dead 1 and 2 are coming to the Switch. This is somewhat semi-confirmed. This is according to Nintendo Life. So basically, the Polish studio Forever Entertainment, who are also remaking Panzer Dragoon, which they confirmed, I think, at the last Nintendo Direct, I believe. They were making the House of the Dead games, which we last seen, I believe, on the Wii, which I do have. Those games are great. But they said they're, at least according to the source, we've only got a Polish source for this news at the moment, so we're not 100% of the scope of this project, but we'd assume it will take the same form as the aforementioned Panzer Dragoon remake, which intends to give the existing game a HD lick of paint. The games are due for release next year. This is pretty dope. I totally am gonna get this. Just the cheesiness of the whole titles as a whole. Suffer like G did. Dogs are they a mess. It's time we made our move. Ha 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 ha. Oh man, I have to stream that one day. I really would. Oh man, I'm very curious how they're gonna handle the because I don't know. They definitely it's a given they have to do motion controls for that game like the Wii. I'm curious to see how that's actually gonna play, because there's never been a Wii game, I mean a Switch game I played where I necessarily had legit motion controls. I know they're out there, but I don't know. I've never seen them before, or seen it actually in action. I know it somehow uses the infrared on one of the switches. I mean, one of the Joy-Cons. But outside of that, I'm very curious to see how that kind of comes into play. Because I don't know, if this just strictly analog only, that would be a huge disappointment. Maybe some dedicated gun attachment that kind of incorporates the light gun. I mean, the IR sensor to some extent. That'd be cool too. I'd totally buy that if that was required. But overall, I was very, very happy to hear this today. The greatness that is the House of the Dead. Got it. One more time. The House of the Dead. Ah, that's rich. That's rich right there. Okay, so that pretty much covers most of the news. I guess we'll kind of get into some off-topic type stuff that I wanted to talk about. Probably the biggest interesting thing that came out, I think today, it seems to be legit. It's been reported on Let me refresh it. Did they update? Be sure. Yeah, this seems like it's legit. Let me refresh just to be safe. No update that this is not real? No, man, this is real. So I found it very hard to believe, but this is actually a thing, man. So Samuel L. Jackson, and by Samuel L. Jackson, I mean Samuel mother Jackson. Samuel mother Jackson. Yes, they deserve to die. I'm getting tired of these mother snakes on this mother plane. L. Jackson. It's been announced that he's gonna be a celebrity voice on Amazon Alexa devices. And I swear this was a parody at some point. I think there's been a couple of videos circulating around where he was you know, it was just totally a satirical take on Alexa. Like, what's the, oh, sorry. I forgot you were listening, always listening, like very creepily, always listening what I say. I don't like that. Yeah, like the most unlikely choice that you would have as an Amazon, for an Alexa voice would be Samuel L. Jackson. And lo and behold, Samuel Jackson is gonna come to the Amazon Alexa. I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna have to do it. It's Samuel Jackson. Well, why would you not want that? Wake up, mother. Wake your. It's about time to get up. Do you want an Amazon Echo, bitch? Get one right now. This is gonna be entertaining more than anything. It's gonna have me rolling. I'll be like, Alexa, what time is it? Oh, god damn it. What's the, all right, damn it. Jesus. I'm sorry. Shut up, Alexa. I'm sorry. Never mind. Oh man. Ugh. Jesus. Man, yeah, just you about to, what time is it, Samuel Jackson? Motherfucking no. You better get your damn ass up and get the time, bitch. Motherfucker. Yeah, that's gonna be great. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. That's gonna be great. He better cuss. I'm gonna be super disappointed if he don't cuss. That's gonna be a huge missed opportunity. What he's been notably most known for. He better be cussing. He better give me like some profanity DLC or something. Because I guess I'm looking at the article now. This is based on CBSNews.com. So yeah, enabling Jackson's voice isn't free. Amazon says the introductory price is 99 cents and the regular price will be $4.99. I don't get that. Introductory price 99 cents and regular price is $4.99. So maybe 99 cents to demo it, and then if you want to permanently buy it is $4.99. I'm not sure about that. I think they intentionally left that vague for a reason. Oh, yes, you can. They confirmed it. So yeah, they said to get the voice, you simply need to say the name, introduce me to Samuel Jackson, and decide whether they would like the explicit or clean version. The actor is known for his freaking very quote, yes, use of profanity. I'm about to say, like, how would you have Samuel Jackson and not have him cuss? That just does not, that's just like, it's like having Mortal Kombat and not have the fatalities. We already know what happened for that, for like, Marvel vs. DC Universe, how horrible that game was, just like, like softcore porn or something, it's like, it's kind of there, but it's not really. Yeah, I'm just saying, but I digress. You know what? Let's do it live right now. I think they said it's live right now. We'll try it. Alexa, introduce me to Samuel Jackson.
Maybe he'll give us a sneak peek. Sam, do you want to say something?
I'm Samuel L. Jackson, star of stage, screen, and coming soon to the cloud.
You'll be able to enable Sam's voice for an introductory price of 99 cents, beginning later this year.
Okay. Thanks, Alexa. You a real one. I appreciate that. Oh, that's gonna be great. Oh my god. I'm getting that. I'm definitely getting that. Boy, what? Samuel Jackson cussing your ass out? Waking your ass up? Oh man. Boy. Oh man. My Alexa just got way more interested. Oh man. That's funny. Oh man. Oh, okay. Moving on man, that is great. Jesus. So I guess we'll get into off-topic stuff in terms of what I've been playing specifically. So as I mentioned earlier, we did cover Modern Warfare in terms of pretty much the beta. So the beta last weekend introduced the cross-play functionality now. So pretty much it opened up for Xbox and PC players who weren't able to play the previous weekend, which was the dumb exclusivity exclusive to PS4 players. So this past weekend, they basically now introduced the crossplay feature. And, I mentioned a lot of the aspects the past weekend or last episode about it. And yeah, I pretty much had the full effect of pretty much Call of Duty on all platforms. I played a fair amount on the Xbox One version, probably played maybe 5 to 6 matches. And then after that, I played on the PC via controller because I really like that's actually what interests me to the PC version is that you get matched with other controller players if you play from controller on PC. So you get matched with PS4 or Xbox players or both if you do that. And, I did. And for the most part, it seemed pretty good. It was some weirdness where I was matched with some keyboard players, and I guess the same for Xbox, at least when I was playing that. I didn't play any of the PS4 version since I pretty much played all of it the weekend before. So I pretty much got the full effect. But yeah, like I was mentioning earlier, my PC didn't really give me any noticeable difference. But at the same time, I was playing on my TV versus my monitors, which HDMI is always somewhat funky in terms of PC to TV in some instances where not getting your full frame rates or frames per second and all that. So I mean that may have come into play, so I could probably give some slight benefit of the doubt. I didn't try to test it on a monitor as well, but from what I tried on the PC, it looked very similar, at least from what I could just see, to the Xbox One X version. I'd probably have to check out a Digital Foundry video to kind of maybe confirm or deny some of those suspicions I did have, or at least initially playing it. But I ran into some weird glitches too on the PC beta. I know sometimes when I was spawn in, when you spawn in after you die, you will zoom in, but sometimes it would just skip the whole animation and it'd just be a black screen for like 5 seconds, and then you go to the player, which is jarring at times. Outside of that, the frame rate seemed to be more noticeably chuggier on the PC, considering I'm playing like at full 4K resolution, and I had everything on high, but I tried messing with some of the settings, turn some of the settings down that might have affected the performance, and all didn't really seem to have any substantial difference that I noticed. So I mean, I don't know. I'll probably still pick it up later down the line if it goes on sale, but I still see my primary platform being an Xbox One X for that. Um, yeah, just like the controller better overall. Just the experience of not having just random weirdness, and just the performance, just consistently feels like I'm probably gonna rock with the Xbox One X, my primary platform. But the awesome thing about that is that I'll be able to play with my PS4 friends if they decide to play. Most of my PS4 friends don't necessarily play Call of Duty like that. But then if people on PC want to play, I guess that's a whole nother I guess thing of worms. Because of if I do want to play with PC players, more than likely they're going to be on keyboard and mouse, so I probably have to switch to keyboard and mouse if I want to, or just tough it out and show them these sticks if they really want it. But yeah, all in all, pretty satisfied with the demo. I mean, beta, it technically is a demo too, really. I think that just terminology has just picked up so much popularity now. That's kind of like becoming like a, I guess it's basically the new demo really now. Beta is kind of like the new demo in my opinion, but I digress. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that. Aside from that, lot of freaking Monster Hunter, baby. You know it. That grind don't stop. Don't stop grinding until you can't get enough. Okay? Want to be the best Monster Hunter in the world. I don't even there's no rankings on Monster Hunter. Why am I even want to be the best, but there ain't no form of rankings. I guess technically if there's that one Monster Hunter event, I guess that's technically how you would kind of rank yourself in terms of how you are as a legitimate Monster Hunter or whatever. But now I'm starting to get into the legit meatiness of Monster Hunter in terms of just, standard grinding, trying to get some of our weapons. I was trying to get this sweet ass, what was this sword called? This Radobon sword, where basically it incurs sleep. For those that don't know, in Monster Hunter, there's like various elemental properties that you can, that your sword may possess that gives you an advantage against other enemies. So if you do that, it will, if there's a particular monster that's weak to a different element, it will be substantially weaker because of that. If you fight it with a element that it's weaker to, stuff like that, that comes into play. Water beats fire, and generally that's the kind of the general rule. But there's some weird kooky exceptions to that, I'd assume, as with the other Monster Hunter games. Like Dragon is really good against dragons, which is weird. You never think that, but in some cases that actually is effective, at least from the older Monster Hunters that I was playing. So weird, interesting stuff. But yeah, overall, still them hooks got in me, man. Got the fulfillment of beating the story, and then now the end game's coming into play. And then what I was talking about earlier, there's this gilding lands where you got to try to progress those, I guess, to presumably unlock more technical story stuff, or official endgame stuff, if you will. So but outside of that, just been taking my time with it, and just having a pretty steady pace in terms of how I'm going into the game. So I mean, overall, man, Monster Hunter Iceborne is great. Got this Yakumo armor, so now I could play with with my nipples out. Very excited about that. I could be hunting monsters. I could be fucking up Devil Joes with my nipples out. It's the greatest thing. Gotta let them nipples breathe, man. Yeah, man. So I mean, thoroughly enjoying that overall. But yeah, that's all I've really been playing lately. Really nothing I'm seeing in the horizon in my immediate radar that I maybe have not for that I may have possibly forgot. But yeah, outside of that, I'm trying to think, can I play anything else? No, that's pretty much it, really. Monster Hunter Ice World, Monster Hunter Ice World, Monster Hunter World Iceborne is great. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Yeah, I think that will conclude Switches Sites episode 24. As always, you could follow me on Twitch TV/aswitch, where I've been regularly streaming the show live for viewers that are interested in viewing so or doing so. Viewing so applies too, but you know what I mean. Viewing so, doing so, all applies the same, right? No, right? Yeah, Twitch TV/aswitch. You can also catch me on YouTube, youtube.com/aswitch. If you're listening to this podcast on popular podcasting platforms, which at the moment include Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify Podcasts, feel free to like, downvote, don't like. I hate this show. All feedback is appreciated. Outside of that, oh yeah, if you have any questions you'd like to submit for the show that I'll read when I get enough, feel free to submit any questions you have to aswitchtv@gmail.com as well. And yeah. So I think that's gonna do it for Switches Sites episode 22. Thank you for watching in or listening, whatever platform or media form outlet that you're viewing it from. And until next time, guys.